Hey everyone, and welcome to a deep dive into London's Old War Office.
Oh, a building.
It's dripping
Yay.
with history, intrigue, and maybe even a few ghosts of secrets past.
Ooh.
You've given us quite the treasure trove of sources for this one. Architectural plans, conservation reports, design statements,
Yeah.
the whole shebang.
Yeah. Exciting.
This could be quite the journey.
It certainly will be.
Liv.
What makes this building so captivating is that it's not just about the bricks and mortar.
Right.
You know, it's a living record of power, ambition, and the ever-shifting tides of history. We're going to peel back those layers and uncover the stories that are hidden within.
I love. Okay, so let's set the scene for our listeners. We're in Whitehall,
Yes.
right in the heart of London,
Yeah.
a place that's practically synonymous with British power.
Absolutely.
This area has been a hub of government for centuries.
Centuries.
Yeah.
The Old War Office is nestled amongst those iconic landmarks like the Admiralty, the Horse Guards, and the Treasury Building. It's like stepping into a panorama of British history, with the Old War Office standing as a powerful centerpiece.
Oh, love that.
But
yeah.
long before the War Office took root, this very spot housed the Palace of Whitehall,
Okay.
home to Henry VIII and other monarchs.
Wow, talk about a pedigree.
Yeah.
From a royal residence to the nerve center of British military operations.
Yeah.
What a transformation.
Absolutely.
So tell me, what can you tell us about the building itself?
Well, the Old War Office, completed in 1906, is a prime example of Edwardian Baroque architecture,
Okay.
designed by William Young. It's a style that exudes confidence and grandeur, reflecting the ambition of the era. And with 7 floors and 2.5 miles of corridors.
Wait,
Yeah.
2.5 miles of corridor.
You heard that right.
Wow.
2.5 miles.
It's practically a city within a city.
It is.
I can only imagine the secrets whispered within those corridors.
You know, many secrets.
Speaking of secrets,
that.
you mentioned something earlier about a spy's entrance.
Yeah.
Honestly, that is already giving me chills.
Yeah, it's a very mysterious.
So what do we actually know about how it was used?
Well, it's a fascinating detail, isn't it?
Huh?
Tucked away discreetly on the Whitehall Court elevation,
Uh-huh.
the spy's entrance speaks to the building's very clandestine nature.
Right.
You see, the Old War Office wasn't just about military strategy.
Oh,
It was steeped in espionage, a hub for intelligence gathering and covert operations.
I mean, talk about a history.
The very first meeting of the Secret Service Bureau,
Wow.
the precursor to MI5 and MI6,
No way.
was held within these walls in 1909.
That's incredible. It's like something straight out of a spy novel.
I know.
No wonder this building has earned the nickname the Whitehall Pentagon.
It's very apt.
But it's not all cloak and dagger operations,
No.
right? You mentioned some pretty impressive architectural details as well.
Yes, indeed.
So tell me about those.
Well, the Old War Office's architecture is a story in itself, reflecting the hierarchy and the power dynamics at play within its walls.
I mean,
For instance, the grand main staircase,
yes.
crafted from marble and alabaster and topped with the stunning glazed cupola, is a symbol of the building's opulence and grandeur.
I can only imagine how imposing that staircase must have been.
Oh, it's breathtaking.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful reminder of the building's history.
Did they manage to capture that feeling in the renovation?
Oh, they did.
Okay, good.
The staircase is a protected feature, meticulously restored to its former glory.
I'm so glad to hear that.
It's really something to see.
So these historical details are fascinating, but I'm curious, how did they translate into the modern living spaces of the residences? I mean, this building has gone from housing military strategists to welcoming residents and hotel guests.
Right.
That's quite a shift.
It is, and it required a delicate balancing act
Yeah.
between preserving the past and embracing the future.
Right.
The architects and designers had to carefully consider how to integrate modern amenities and comforts while respecting the building's historical fabric.
Right.
They were guided by something called a conservation management plan,
Oh.
which outlines strict guidelines to protect the building's heritage.
Ah, the conservation management plan.
Yeah.
For those of us who aren't architecture buffs, can you quickly break down what that is and why it's so important in a project like this?
Of course. Think of the conservation management plan as a rule book for preserving a building's historical integrity.
Okay.
It outlines everything from the types of materials that can be used to the placement of signage and cabling.
Got it.
It ensures that any changes made to the building are sensitive to its history and architectural significance.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So with this conservation management plan in place, they set out to transform the Old War Office.
They did.
Tell me, how did they manage to breathe new life into this once secret world?
Well, one of the key challenges was finding a way to blend the building's imposing history with the expectations of modern luxury living.
Right.
For example, they had to figure out how to convert spaces once used for strategic planning and intelligence gathering into welcoming residences and hotel suites.
A ballroom in the basement?
Yes.
That seems like an odd choice given its history as a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that decision?
Well, you're right to point out that contrast.
Yeah.
It's a deliberate juxtaposition. A way of acknowledging the building's layered past while creating a space for celebration and enjoyment.
Okay.
And remember, this building has seen its fair share of transformation over the years.
That's true.
It's survived wartime bombing raids and undergone various renovations and adaptations.
Right.
Adding a ballroom is simply another chapter in its ongoing evolution.
I'm starting to see a pattern here.
Uh-huh.
It's like they're embracing the contrasts, weaving them into the very fabric of the renovation.
Yeah.
Old and new secrecy and openness, power and luxury, all these elements coming together to create a truly unique experience.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Very good.
That's precisely what makes the Old War Office's transformation so fascinating. It's a dialogue between the past and the present, a story that continues to unfold as you explore the building.
Well, you've certainly piqued my curiosity. I'm ready to delve deeper into those architectural intricacies and uncover more about this fascinating building. But before we do, let's take a quick pause to let our listeners absorb all this amazing information.
Sounds good to me.
We'll be right back. We're back, and I'm ready to get into the nitty-gritty of the Old War Office's architecture.
Okay.
We've talked about grand staircases and secret entrances.
Yes.
But I'm curious about those seemingly smaller details that you mentioned earlier.
Right.
What can those tell us about the building and the people who work there?
Well, you're right. Those seemingly insignificant details, they can often reveal a lot about a building's history and the social dynamics within its walls.
Interesting.
For instance, remember those 18th century marble chimney pieces we mentioned earlier?
Yes, you said they were salvaged from nearby ducal residences?
Exactly. They were originally from grand homes on Pall Mall.
Wow.
Demolished to make way for more government building.
Of course.
So they were literally pieces of a bygone era, repurposed and given a second life in the corridors of power.
I love that.
It's like each piece carries a whisper of the past, a reminder of the constant evolution of this area.
It's fascinating how they've blended different eras and styles within this one building.
It is.
Okay, I have to ask about those corridors.
Okay.
You said there are 2.5 miles of them. Did they all look the same, or were there subtle differences?
The corridors?
Yeah.
They're a microcosm of the building's social structure.
Oh, interesting.
The width of a corridor.
Cool.
The materials used for the flooring and paneling, even the type of door handles.
Wow.
All of these details subtly signaled the status of the occupants.
So you're telling me that something as simple as a door handle could reveal someone's rank within the building?
Absolutely.
Wow.
For example,
Yeah.
higher-ranking officials would have enjoyed wider corridors with more elaborate details,
Makes sense.
while those in more junior positions would have navigated narrower, more utilitarian spaces.
I see. So as you walked through the building, you could almost sense the pecking order just by paying attention to these subtle design cues.
Precisely. And this hierarchical design language wasn't just confined to corridors. It extended to the rooms themselves.
Interesting.
Think about the contrast between the grand suites, like the Haldane suite, and the more modest messenger rooms we touched upon earlier.
It's amazing to think about the sheer volume of information that flowed through those corridors and rooms.
Oh, it's mind-boggling.
You mentioned that nearly a sixth of the building's employees were messengers, right?
That's right. Imagine a constant stream of messengers scurrying through those corridors, carrying vital documents and communications. It must have been a hive of activity, a bustling network of information exchange.
I can only imagine.
And within this network, each space, from grand offices to humble messenger rooms, played a crucial role in the building's overall function.
You know, I read a spy novel once where a coded message was hidden inside a chimney piece. It makes you wonder if any secret messages were ever stashed within those ornate marble fireplaces.
Oh, who knows?
Okay, enough about spy fantasies.
Right.
Let's move on to the exterior of the building.
Yeah.
You mentioned some interesting details about the facade.
Yes, the facade. It's a masterpiece of Edwardian Baroque.
Oh.
A style that blends grandeur with a subtle nod to military might.
Interesting.
Picture this
Okay.
imposing corner pavilions, rounded and robust,
Okay.
each topped with an octagonal tower.
Wow.
It's a design that subtly evokes the fortified towers of medieval castles.
Okay.
A hint of the building's function as a center of military power.
So it's not just about aesthetics.
No.
It's about conveying a message of strength and authority.
Exactly.
I like it.
And that message is further reinforced by the use of protruding masonry block, a distinctive detail inspired by the work of James Gibbs, the renowned 18th century architect.
Gibbsian surrounds, are those the same thing?
Yes.
I have to admit I'm not an architecture expert, so some of these terms are new to me.
You're absolutely right. Those are Gibbsian surrounds.
Okay.
They are essentially decorative elements
Right.
inspired by the work of James Gibbs,
Uh-huh.
which often feature prominent keystone blocks.
Got it.
In the case of the Old War Office,
Mm-hmm.
Young used this detail not only on the facade,
Yep.
but also around windows and doorways,
Right.
adding a sense of visual rhythm and coherence.
So it's like Young was paying homage to a master architect while also putting his own spin on the style.
Exactly.
Were there any other notable features on the facade that we should know about?
Well, one striking element is the sculptural program.
Okay.
Alfred Drury,
Uh-huh.
a prominent sculptor of the time,
Okay.
created a series of allegorical figures that adorn several elevations. These figures represent various virtues and ideals associated with British power and military might.
So it's like the facade is telling a story, conveying a message about the values and aspirations of the people who built and occupied the old War Office.
Precisely. Every detail.
Wow.
From the grand architectural gestures to the smallest sculptural embellishments,
Right.
contributes to the building's overall narrative.
That's amazing.
And when you consider that this building endured wartime bombing raids and underwent various renovations,
Right.
it's amazing how much of that original story has been preserved.
Speaking of wartime resilience, you mentioned earlier that they reinforced the basement to create bomb-proof shelters during World War II.
Yeah.
I'm curious, did those shelters play a significant role during the Blitz?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
During the Blitz, the basement shelters provided refuge for those working within the Old War Office.
Wow.
It must have been a terrifying experience,
Okay.
knowing that bombs were raining down on the city above. And while the building did sustain some damage during the war,
Okay.
it remains standing, a testament to its sturdy construction.
So even in the face of danger, the old War Office stood as a symbol of resilience and determination.
Absolutely. And that enduring strength is reflected not only in its physical structure,
Right.
but also in the spirit of those who worked within its walls.
And speaking of those who worked within its walls,
Yes.
you mentioned that there was a real contrast between the grand suites occupied by high-ranking officials
Right.
and the more modest spaces
Yeah.
used by messengers and other support staff.
Yeah.
I'm picturing a world of gleaming mahogany desks and ornate chandeliers versus more utilitarian spaces with rows of desks and typewriters. Did they preserve any of those contrasting interiors during the renovation?
That's a great question. While the majority of the interiors have been reimagined to create the luxurious residences and hotel suites,
Right.
the designers made a conscious effort to retain and showcase certain historical details
Okay, good.
wherever possible. For example,
Yeah.
many of the original fireplaces, paneling, and cornices
Ah.
have been meticulously restored and incorporated into the new designs.
So even in these modern living spaces,
Yeah.
there are reminders of the building's past.
Yes.
These echoes of its former life.
Exactly. And in some cases, they even went a step further, removing modern partitions that have been added over the years to restore the original proportions and layouts of certain rooms.
Wow.
It's a fascinating blend of old and new, a testament to the skill and sensitivity of the renovation team.
It makes you wonder what it was like to work in this building during its heyday.
Yeah.
I'm picturing a constant buzz of activity, a sense of urgency and importance hanging in the air.
Absolutely.
Did any personal accounts or anecdotes survive?
They did.
Of
That
them?
give us a glimpse into daily life at the Old War Office. Thankfully, yes.
Wow.
We have access to some firsthand accounts
Okay.
from those who worked in the building, providing us with a glimpse into its daily rhythms and routines.
I love that.
For instance,
Yeah.
one former messenger recalled the sheer scale of the building,
Right.
describing how it took him weeks to learn his way around the labyrinthine corridors.
Wow.
He also spoke about the strict hierarchy and the sense of duty that permeated every aspect of life within those walls.
It's incredible to think about those individuals who walk these halls,
It is.
carrying out their duties amidst the weight of history and the gravity of the decisions being made around them.
Yeah.
Their stories, like the building itself, are a testament to a bygone era, an era marked by both grandeur and sacrifice, secrecy and dedication.
Well said. And those stories are an integral part of the old War Office's legacy.
Right.
A legacy that continues to shape our understanding of the building and its place in history.
So as we transition to the final part of our deep dive,
Yep.
I'm eager to hear your thoughts on how this transformation, this shift from a place of secrecy to a public space, might impact the old War Office's legacy. But before we do, let's give our listener a moment to ponder these captivating stories and architectural details.
I agree. There's much to consider about how the past and present are intertwined within this remarkable building.
We're back, and I'm still thinking about all those fascinating stories woven into the old War Office's history. It makes you wonder, how will this transformation from a place of secrecy to a public space affect its legacy?
Right.
Will people sipping cocktails on a rooftop terrace feel the weight of the decisions that were made within those very same walls?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can a building truly shed its past?
Right.
Or will those echoes of history always linger? In the case of the old War Office, I think they've struck a fascinating balance by preserving so many architectural details and even incorporating some of the original room names. They've acknowledged the building's history without letting it overshadow its new purpose.
You know, it's almost like they're inviting guests and residents to become part of the story. To add their own chapter to the old War Office's ongoing narrative.
I like that.
But with that said, it's hard to ignore the contrast between the building's past and present.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking about a place that was once synonymous with military strategy, intelligence operations,
Right.
hushed whispers in dimly lit corridors.
Absolutely.
And now it's home to luxury residences, a 5-star hotel, a spa. You said there's even a ballroom.
Yes, a ballroom.
And it's not just any ballroom.
No.
Remember how we talked about the basement being reinforced during World War II to create bomb shelters?
Yes.
Well, that same space now hosts lavish parties and events.
It does.
It's quite a striking juxtaposition.
It is.
It makes you wonder what those wartime strategists and intelligence officers would think if they could see the old War Office today. I wonder.
Would they be shocked?
Right. Amused.
Possibly.
Maybe a little bit of both.
It's certainly a thought-provoking question. Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of what makes adaptive reuse so compelling.
Okay.
It's about finding new ways to connect with the past, to reimagine historic spaces for a modern audience.
Right.
It's a conversation between eras.
Yeah.
A dialogue that unfolds as you walk through those corridors, as you run your hand along a marble fireplace,
Right.
as you gaze up at that magnificent glazed cupola.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned earlier that one of the former messengers said it took him weeks to learn his way around those 2.5 miles of corridors.
Oh, yeah.
I bet some of the hotel guests feel the same way.
I'm sure they do.
But I have a feeling they'll enjoy getting lost a little bit more.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a sense of discovery, of uncovering hidden gems that comes with exploring a building like this.
Yeah.
And the fact that it has such a rich and layered history only adds to the allure.
For sure.
Imagine checking into your hotel room, finding out it was once occupied by a high-ranking military official.
Or perhaps even a notorious spy.
Okay, that's definitely going on my travel bucket list.
Definitely.
But speaking of spies, did they seal up that spy's entrance during the renovation?
Oh.
Or can you still slip in and out unnoticed?
You'll be happy to know that the spy's entrance remains a discreet reminder of the building's clandestine past.
I'm so glad.
And I have a feeling it will be a popular spot for photo ops and Instagram selfies.
I can already picture it.
I know.
Hashtag spy's entrance.
Hashtag old war office.
Hashtag living my best secret agent life.
Exactly.
But jokes aside, it is pretty amazing that they chose to preserve that detail.
It is.
It's a nod to the building's history, a reminder that even in its new incarnation, the old War Office has a story to tell.
Exactly. And it's a story that I hope will continue to captivate and intrigue visitors and residents for years to come.
It really is remarkable.
This building has witnessed so much wartime anxieties, political maneuverings, moments of both triumph and tragedy.
Yeah.
And now it's entering a new chapter,
Right.
one marked by luxury, leisure,
Yeah.
and a newfound openness.
It's like the old War Office is stepping out of the shadows and into the spotlight,
Yes.
inviting the world to witness its transformation.
And in doing so, it's challenging us to think about how we interact with history,
Right.
how we preserve the past while embracing the future.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the old War Office,
Okay.
what's the one key takeaway you hope our listeners will ponder?
I want them to consider this. How does the act of transforming a building, especially one as historically and politically charged as the old War Office,
Right.
alter our perception of its past? Does it diminish its significance, or does it actually amplify it by making it accessible to a wider audience?
That's a brilliant question.
Thank you.
It's a reminder that history isn't static.
Right.
It's a living, breathing entity that's constantly being reinterpreted and recontextualized.
Yes.
And the old War Office, in its new incarnation, is a powerful example of how we can engage with the past in meaningful and unexpected ways.
Precisely. And that's what makes deep dives like this so rewarding.
Yeah.
They're not just about acquiring knowledge, they're about sparking curiosity, encouraging us to look beyond the surface and discover the hidden depths that lie beneath.
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those thought-provoking questions.
Yes.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.